Good morning, this is Don Flint in Corpus Christi, Texas, once again, and we're continuing with drafted letters home from Vietnam, and this is actually chapter 4, episode 2, and we are in the last few weeks of being in Vietnam and almost ready to head home, so that's kind of exciting thing, making plans for the future, and it makes it kind of interesting. So these letters get very interesting because a lot of things were happening, changes, plans, and you'll see how that holds out. It's going to be a fairly long one today, so hang in there if you can, because it gets better at the end. All right, let me get started. This is 15th of January, 1967. Dear Mom and Dad, you really surprised me with that Mama and Papa's album on tape you sent me. It arrived on New Year's Day just after I had sold my tape recorder. I couldn't get the recorder I wanted, so a week later I bought a recorder just like I had, only this one is brand new, while the other one had about 300 hours on it already. I only had to pay an extra $6. It took a $6 loss, so it was worth it to me. I finally played the Mama's and Papa's tape the day I got the new recorder, and everyone loved it. Thank you very much for sending it to me. I don't know how you picked that one to send me, but it couldn't have picked a better one myself. The Keys radio tape arrived today, and I played it, and it sounded real good. Thanks for sending it. I appreciate it. Those tapes are I appreciate those tapes as much as anything you send me. I know you're going to be mad when you find out why I haven't been sending any money home. I have been buying things that I have been wanting for a long time. Last week, I bought a Kenwood 110-watt FM/AM receiver for $134. It is a beauty and really works good with my recorder. It improved the sound so much, there is no comparison. The same unit in the States costs about $239. I figured it up tonight that I have spent $794 for equipment worth $1,958 in the States. I know I should save money, but I am buying things now that I would buy later anyway at great savings. I haven't bought any junk either, as I have struck with the top names in each area that I have bought in. I was glad to hear you finally got a color TV. I can't wait to see it. I bet you enjoy TV a lot more than before because color makes it so much better. As of today, I have 90 days to go. The weeks are passing by real fast, and I can hardly believe I have passed by 2 weeks of January already. It won't be long, and I will be home soon. Remember Jerry Cochran from Phoenix, Arizona? He was with me in basic training and came to Vietnam about 2 months before I did. So he is going home in 5 days. I will have to go see him someday. The wind has been blowing here for about a month or so now, and it is a steady 20-25 knots with gusts to 50 or 60. The sand blows around and is drifting really bad. I haven't even been outside hardly today because the sand blows in the eyes and it feels like getting sandblasted. I'll be real glad when this is over and warm, windless weather returns to normal. It is actually cool here with this wind blowing. The temps right now at 10 p.m. is 73 degrees. And the lowest I've seen here is 70. Temperatures actually feel cold to us, though, after so much heat. The high today was 80. Thanks again for the tapes. Got to go to bed. Love, Donnie. That was cool. This is the 2nd of February. Dear Mom and Dad, I got your can of candy the other day, and they were delicious. I passed them out around to everyone, and they all liked them. You know, there usually is not much to write about here, but today I have something to write about. My next assignment will be on the East Coast at Fort Dix, New Jersey. From what I hear, is a real nice place, and it's close to New York City and the Jersey Shore. I was happy to get my assignment, for it makes me feel real short. I have about 70 days. The best thing about getting an assignment this early is that I will have plenty of time to get my whole baggage home before I get there. I'll keep you posted on any further developments. Well, I finally got the recorder I wanted, an M8 by Akai. It corresponds to the Robert 770X, which costs $400 stateside. It is a real beauty and sounds great. I sold my little 1710 for the same as I paid for it. I think I've bought everything I need now, at least I hope. I'm going to Tokyo on February 24th and stay until March 3rd. It is another R&R and doesn't count as leave. I'm going mainly to take tours and to shoot pictures. Due to poor weather and being rushed for time before, I didn't take any pictures. I also want to pick up some small things that I need. I'll also try to get some silk while there. It shouldn't cost too much, and I know I will enjoy it. The chaplain is in Hawaii this week, so things have been slow. Gotta go for now. Right soon. Love, Donnie. Pretty average letter. Interesting. I'm going to get the sun in my face here in a minute. 7th of February. Dear Dad, enclosed is my W-2 form for income tax. I guess Stuart Johnson will take care of my tax again this year, so I'm sending it home. I don't know if you will have to send something back for me to sign or what. I figured you could take care of it better there than I could here. My orders were cut yesterday for going home, so I can see no delays in leaving Vietnam. I heard the other day that I could or would go from here all the way to McGuire Air Force Base, which is connected to Fort Dix, which would mean no stopping in California and no travel pay. But after talking to one of our personnel clerks, he assured me I could get off at McCord Air Force Base in Washington State and collect travel pay all the way to Fort Dix from there. It would sure help soften expenses in flying home. I'm going to try to send my whole baggage home soon enough so that it will be there when I come home, or get there while I'm there. As soon as I know more, I will let you know. Love, Donnie. Yeah, I'm making plans for my travel home. I want to move forward, get out of the sun, because time was getting short. I was going to have to travel. I wanted to go home for a while and be with the folks and catch up and get the Vietnam off me. And that was very important. February 8th, 67. This is to my Uncle Bob and Aunt Lucille. Being in Vietnam has been an experience I wouldn't have traded for the world. It has given me a great insight as to the plight of the world, and it has made me appreciate our American way of life. I have enjoyed traveling in the Far East to Tokyo, and I only wish I could stay and see the rest of these nations in this part of the world. But I must move on to a new post in the States to serve my last 4 months in the Army. I tried to get the 6th Army on the West Coast, but like the Army, I got just the opposite of what I wanted. The East Coast, my next duty station, will be Fort Dix, New Jersey. I'm hoping to be able to come and visit you while I'm at Dix being as it is so close to Wilmington, I have talked to quite a few guys that have been stationed there, and they liked it very much. I will be making trips to the Jersey Shore and New York City while there. This should be a good ending to an interesting Army career. I've changed my stereo tape hi-fi system quite a bit since my last letter. I was on my second Akai 1710 when I picked up a Kenwood AM/FM receiver amplifier. It was a wonderful improvement in sound, adding 103 watts of power to the small recorder. Then last week I bought an Akai M8, which is the same as the Roberts 770X. It's sold in the States. And I sold the second 1710. So I now have a nice complement of stereo equipment, and I'm going to send it home the first week of March. I'll be real glad to go home for leave for 30 days. I need a nice long rest in a nice quiet place like home. I'm really going to like it there after being gone a year. I'm going to Tokyo on the 24th of February to do some sightseeing and do things I missed before. I won't have any money this time, so I won't be spending and buying like before. I want to get down to Mount Fuji and see the sights of Tokyo, and mainly to just take it easy for 5 days. I know I'm going to enjoy this R&R as much as the first one I took. It's getting late in the day, and I want to get this letter off. Sincerely, your nephew, Donnie. So that was to my uncle in Delaware. They live in Wilmington, and it's very close to Fort Dix. So I was looking forward to getting to know them better and visiting them in their area of just north of Wilmington, the Brandywine area. Gorgeous part of the country, really, and many beautiful estates and beautiful farmland, and pretty cool. February 9th. This is to my sister and brother-in-law Glenn in Colorado. You have probably already heard from Mom and Dad where I'm going to my next assignment, but I will tell you anyway. It is Fort Dix, New Jersey, and is an advanced training brigade. I will like being on the East Coast all summer since it's real close to New York City, Philadelphia, Uncle Bob's house, and Washington, D.C., not to mention the Jersey Shore. Depending on how things are when I hit the States, I might drop through Denver on the way home and see you for a few days. I'm also planning to stop at Monterey, California, and visit a friend at the Presidio. He got me interested in cameras, and I want to show him what I bought while I was here. Let me know if you can put me up for a few days if I decide to come. It will be in the first half of April. I will probably have some of my slides with me too. I bought a new tape recorder a couple of weeks ago, and it's a honey. I didn't lose any money on selling the old 1710, and it had cost me only $200. The new one I have is equivalent to a Roberts 770X in the States. Enclosed is an ad of what I bought. I also have a 110 watt Kenwood receiver, FM AM amplifier. It really works nice over here. And taped music can be had at the Post Tape Library, where you can go in and copy tapes on Sony tape recorders. They have over 300 records on tape to copy from. I'm going to Tokyo on the 24th of this month. I'm going to buy only small things and go to lots of tours to see the city. I also plan to take a lot of pictures while there. The main thing, though, is I'm coming home soon. Can forget about this war in Vietnam. I must go for now. It was nice hearing from you and your 2 letters. Thanks, Donnie. My hair is probably blooming here, but that's okay. The sun moved. Always try to pick out an interesting background for these, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. move forward a little bit more. This is the 17th February, still 1967. Dear Mom and Dad, I received your tape made on your trip to Corsicana today. I already listened to the talking part and really enjoyed it. I didn't realize you were playing these tapes I sent for everyone. I would have done a better job on them. I got your letter talking about your wanting to come to California, and although I don't think we'll make perfectly timed arrivals, I can leave up to 14 days early, which would put me in the States on April 2nd or 3rd. My personnel sergeant told me I would be leaving around the 10th of April. Anyway, I would enjoy very much traveling around California before going home. I was going to come home and surprise you by just sneaking into the house, and when you come home, I will be there. But of course, this rules that out. I'm supposed to have 30 days leave, and while home, I'm thinking of picking up a used car and driving it up to Fort Dix, and I will get back 10 days leave for travel time. Some of the guys who live in New Jersey and some who have been stationed at Dix say one is lost without a car there, and I sure don't want to be lost. If I had a car, I could go see Uncle Bob, the Davis family in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and visit all around there. Also, getting back 10 days leave would leave me with 25 days to use up in 4 months, so I could come home again during the summer. Enclosed is the card of the motel I used to stay at when I went to Santa Cruz on the weekends. We could meet there unless you had another place in mind. I'm sure I could find any place you wanted to stay at, but it is a nice place, and Mrs. Carlisle is real nice. I could land at one of 3 places: McCord Air Force Base near Tacoma, Washington, Travis Air Base near San Francisco, or McGuire Air Base in New Jersey. If I land at McCord, I will get a plane down to San Francisco. If I land at Travis, they will bus us to Oakland for out processing in about 3 hours. If I land in McGuire Air Base, I will have to get a military standby ticket to San Francisco. I'm sure I will know where I will be landing before I leave here, and in plenty of time to notify you of the date and place. If you want to stay and meet in Santa Cruz, once I reach San Francisco, I will rent a car and drive down to Santa Cruz, about 60 miles, and meet you. Let me know what you think about it. If you do come out there, please pack me a suitcase of civilian clothes, including my suit, a belt, cufflinks, a tie clip, and some of my regular undershorts. I don't remember what my clothes situation was when I left, and I'm afraid I'm going to be way out of style. That's hilarious. When I arrive in the States. So I'll buy some new clothes when I get to California. So don't bring too much in the way of sports clothes, just 2 or 3 sets of shirts and pants, no shoes. I will let you know when I will be arriving in California, and in plenty of time so you can get out there easily. And I will write again soon on this same subject. I don't think I wrote about it, but later on, I'm really getting the sun now. I did land at McCord, and they processed us out. Went to I must have gone to SeaTac. Now I can't remember. Ended up flew from Seattle, Tacoma to San Francisco on a short flight. And then in San Francisco, I rented a car. Now, I had been driving a small Army Jeep in Vietnam for a year. I asked for a small car. They gave me a an AMC Matador, which was the biggest car on the road at the time, I think. It was huge. Here I am, used to this little Jeep. And I literally got into that car and was just kind of overwhelmed by the size of it. Said, man, how am I going to drive this thing? So I literally got in the car and drove around some of the airport roads for a little while and to get used to the size of that car. And then finally got back on the highway and headed down to Santa Cruz. And it was a one-way rental, so I didn't need the car after I got there because my folks were picking me up. And I guess we met a day or so later in Santa Cruz, and after that we headed back to Texas. I don't remember much of the trip. I do have a picture of me kissing the ground at the border of Texas, which I thought was interesting. I don't know if I still have that picture. I'm going to look for it and see. But that was an interesting trip. So there's a big gap in the letters there for about 30 days because I wasn't writing to anybody. So anyway, I got a nice box of butterscotch candy from Uncle George and Aunt Thelma yesterday. I'm going to move up again. I got a nice box of butterscotch candy from Uncle George and Aunt Thelma yesterday. They have sent me this same delicious candy twice before. I have about 56 days left here in Cameron, and next Thursday, the 23rd, I'll be leaving for Tokyo. It will be right before payday, so I'm going to borrow $100 from a buddy. Then when I get back, I can repay him immediately. I was thinking of asking you to loan me money again, but I believe I still owe you $35 from last time, and I guess I will pay you when I get to see you. I think I have run off at the pen a little too much, so I had better cut it off about here. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the near future, 1 month and days. Let's go. Love, Donnie. Interesting. I don't have a date on this one, but it must be right after that date, that last date. So it's late March. Dear Gene and Johnny, my brother-in-law and sister in Corpus. As you have heard by now, I'm going to New Jersey. Yes, Fort Dix, which is near New York, Philadelphia, Uncle Bob, and the Jersey Shore. I have already gotten my orders, so there should be no delay in my coming home. My year will be up the 14th of April, so you can expect me home anytime after that, and maybe sooner. I have 30 days leave before I go to Fort Dix. I'm looking forward to getting back with the old church crowd again, only I'm afraid that there aren't too many of them left. There are probably a lot of new faces around. I got my first new tape Tower Times today. It seems a lot better than the old one. Is the church growing a lot or something? Or is it just becoming more active? It would be nice to go to church again without having to work while there. As a chaplain's assistant, every Sunday service I worked. I was setting up the church, working with the chaplain, working the sound booth, everything I could do to make the church service the best I could. I'm going to Tokyo in about 12 days for R&R. This time I'm going to do some sightseeing that I missed before. I won't have very much money to spend, so I'll have to pinch pennies while there. I'm really looking forward to getting away from here for a while. It sure gets on your nerves staying in one place all the time. The only enjoyment I get anymore is going to the beach every Sunday afternoon and listening to music on my new sound system. Recently we got individual fluorescent lights over our bunks. It sure beats the old incandescent lighting, naked bulbs, we used to have. We are supposed to get 2 overhead fans soon, 1 for every 5 men. I believe we have about the most comfortable living conditions in the whole area. But most of the things we have are unauthorized. We had a good CO who got things for us and worked with us to get these things in the company. Our new CO will be the 4th we have had since I have been here. Well, I've got to go for now. Looking forward to seeing you all soon. I think he was being moved out. Yeah, that was why. All right, this is a really long one. This is 4 pages, single space, typed. March 7th, 1967. Dear Mom and Dad, I thought I'd write and tell you about my Tokyo trip last week. I checked in at the R&R Center on the morning of the 23rd, and they told me to come back the next day at 1 o'clock for processing to Tokyo. I arrived the next day in my uniform at the proper time. We were processed through in no time. They begged and pleaded with us to turn in all our narcotics, grenades, claymore mines, machine guns, and other weapons we were carrying in our bags before going on R&R. Some guys actually try to take things like that along with them on R&R. After changing our money to greenbacks, we had a short wait until the Pan Am 707 bringing R&R personnel back from Hawaii arrived and was refueled. Soon, they loaded us up into buses. We headed for the airstrip and the jet. I took along with me a large suitcase used mainly for bringing things back with me, and my camera bag loaded only with things I thought I would need to keep the weight down. Shortly after boarding the 707, we were taking off down the runway. A runway I watched being built way back last summer. And with a burst of speed and power, we lifted off and headed for Tokyo. The pilot came on over the PA system and announced that the temperature in Tokyo was 26 degrees above and that it was overcast and rainy. He then announced it would take 4.5 hours to fly to Tokyo. A far cry from the 12 hours it took us the first time I went there, and that there would be an in-flight movie on the Pan Am Theater of the Air, The Gambit, starring Shirley MacLaine. There was also about 5 channels of music to listen to. Later, they served a delicious steak dinner that actually was the best meal I had on the whole trip. The flight was very comfortable and pleasant, and we saw a beautiful sunset and arrived in Tokyo, actually Yokota Air Base, and then motored to Camp Zama, R&R Center. Since it was late by the time I rented a suit and a top coat and changed my money back to Series 611 MPC, I took a room at the R&R Center for the night. It was a bay with 6 beds in it at the R&R Center, but the bed was comfortable and I slept well. The next day, I got a Tokyo train map and decided to do as much of my shopping as I could at Tachikawa Air Base to get it out of the way so the rest of my days would be free. By the way, I got 6 full days this time instead of 3.5 like the last time. The first mistake I made was taking the wrong train to get to Tachi, and it took me about 2.5 hours to get there. But I finally made it and went straight to the base exchange. The biggest thing I bought there was my new TAC tape deck, as I had sold my Akai M8 just before I came to Japan because many people have been having trouble with them, and I wanted to avoid the same. The deck I bought is this 3-motor, 4-head automatic reverse design, and is, I think, much better than the Akai M8. I mailed it directly home from there, and it should be home within 30 days of the 25th of February. If you have to pay any duty on it, let me know so I can reimburse you when I come see you in April, or take it out of the Treasury check I sent home today for the deposit. I'm going to send you a special cord so that you can connect it up to my small amplifier and listen to it if it gets there okay and in one piece. I also bought 5 stereo tapes while there and some small camera accessories. After indulging in a hamburger and Coke at the PX cafeteria, I left for Zama by train. I arrived back at Zama just in time to get a hotel reservation at the Hotel New Japan, the same hotel I stayed in before. I wanted to try in another place, but every other place was full and I couldn't get in. The hotel is nice though, and it only cost me $41. That night, after riding the train into Tokyo and getting lost looking for the subway in Shinjuku station, I cleaned up and rode the subways down to the Ginza to look at the lights. The subways in Tokyo are very clean and modern and are easy to ride. The railroad map I had shows every stop every train makes and is easy to follow. It only costs 30 yen to ride down to the Ginza, about 8 cents. Sunday I slept late, and after a good breakfast in the hotel, I once again went down to the Ginza to Tokyo USO to buy Mount Fuji tour tickets. The tour was set for Monday, and I wanted to see a special movie on Tuesday, so I went down to the theater Tokyo where the Cinerama Spectacular Grand Prix was showing. My ticket costs only 600 yen, about $1.60, and I picked up a good reserved seat near the center of the theater. After buying my movie ticket, I ventured into a Japanese restaurant looking for Kobe beef steak. I ended up with sukiyaki. The girl comes to your table and cooks it right in front of you and watches you eat it, and is actually a lot of food. I didn't know how to use chopsticks, so she got me a fork, and I did a lot better. I'm still the same way. I can't use those. It really was an experience, and it tasted pretty good except for those mushrooms. I still don't like mushrooms. In the afternoon, I went to Yokohama to the Navy Exchange to look around and ended up with nothing and coming back to the hotel empty-handed for a change. That night, I went to bed early so I could get up early for the tour. Monday morning dawned early, and it was still the same old overcast. And I was hoping for clear weather so I could see Mount Fuji. I was picked up by bus at the hotel and delivered to another hotel where another bus was to take the tour. I took along my camera and bag so I could take some good pictures. Found my bus, and it was a large Greyhound type of bus, finished real nice inside and equipped with a large tape deck with wide tape containing 10 languages narrating the tour. When the tour was ready to begin, the tour girl informed me that I was the only one on the tour, so she would give me some of the information herself in English, and the rest of the narration would be piped over the PA system so that I wouldn't have to listen on an earplug. I felt funny being the only one on the bus with 2 guides and a bus driver. There was another non-paying guest on the bus, a real attractive girl who was a writer for a USO magazine, who was taking the tour to make sure it was up to standard for GIs to take. The tour guide girl was real cute too, and later I got a lot of good pictures of both girls. Driving through Tokyo, I learned much about the history of the city and Japan itself. We traveled into hilly country, and it reminded me very much of Colorado in places. And when we got to a place where we should have been able to see Fuji, it was too cloudy to get a view. For lunch, we stopped at Fuji View Hotel, and I ate lunch in a huge dining room, able to seat 300 people, and I was the only one in the room. And I felt alone and disgusted because I didn't think I was going to get to see Mount Fuji on this tour, and I was ready to go back. But we left and started up the toll road and part of the way up Mount Fuji. Soon I started seeing little patches of snow, and then more, and on until the trees and ground were covered with snow, and it was real pretty. After a while, we came out above the clouds, and Mount Fuji came into full view with a beautiful blue sky background, and the thing started looking better. When we reached the highest point of the road, we all got out and walked through the snow, and it was cold up there, to an observation deck, and I took pictures of the 3 girls playing in the snow and Fuji with its beautiful white mantle. They told me I was very lucky because it was only the second time the bus had been able to make it all the way to where we were because of snow on the road. Being able to see Fuji was worth the trip, and I was then happy and satisfied with the tour. We then drove back down the mountain and headed for the train station where I was to catch a train back to Tokyo. We saw a lot of nice scenery going down there. At about 4 o'clock, the skies around Mount Fuji cleared, and I could see the whole mountain for the first time. It was an hour-and-a-half train ride into Tokyo, and I got off at Shinjuku Station, where I promptly got lost looking for the subway again and wasted an hour looking for it. I finally found it and got to the hotel, and then went out and had a real live pizza. I then came back to the hotel, went into the bar and had one drink and went to bed, dead tired. It was a long day. Tuesday I slept in and didn't get out of the hotel until afternoon, so that was a wasted morning. I had lunch in the hotel. After that, I got on the subway to the Ginza and came out right by the Sony building. So I decided to go in and see what was happening. While in there, I met an old buddy from Winseal Junior High School who was also on R&R in Tokyo. It sure is a small world. The Sony building was fascinating as usual, and I decided I would come back and take pictures of the place the next day or so. I then went to a hi-fi shop down the street where I tried to buy some headphones, but he was out of the best ones he had. So I told him to order some for me so that I could get them before I left. I then went down to the theater, Tokyo, for the movie Grand Prix. Turned out to be the best movie I've ever seen, bar none, and I was very impressed with the photography and the sound in it. It was in ordinary English with Japanese subtitles, which you didn't see after the first 10 minutes. It was really exciting. After the movie, I went back to the hotel, and I believe I went to a little coffee shop in the building next door and had another pizza, and retired to my room and listened to the radio the rest of the evening. Wednesday morning, I went to Tachikawa to look around again and eat lunch, more hamburgers. I wonder how many hamburgers I actually ate. Sounds like a lot. And then caught the train to Mitaka Station, which was near the TIAC factory, where I wanted to pick up a remote control for my recorder, of which they didn't have, and have a look around to see how they are built. It turned out that I was at the wrong factory to see audio products being made, so I left and came back to Shinjuku Station, only to get lost again, trying to find the subway back to the hotel. That night I ate in the hotel again, and I didn't like what I had. Being that the menu was in French, I had a little trouble picking out what to eat. That night, later on, I took my camera down to the Ginza and took pictures of the lights and some in the subway. There really wasn't much to do at night, since I didn't have any money to throw away in those Ginza clubs. So I went back to the hotel, bought a Newsweek, and sat in the lobby and read it until time for bed. I wish I could remember more of this trip, but I guess this is my memory here. Thursday was my last day in Tokyo, so I packed my bags and checked out of the hotel. I then went down to the Ginza and purchased those headphones I ordered. I then took them with me. I arrived at Camp Zama around 3 o'clock and listened to different speakers at the hi-fi shop in the PX there. That afternoon and night, I hung around the service club until time to leave, and we were in the air by 0300 Friday, same morning, Friday the 3rd of March, and I arrived back in Cameron about 0700 that same morning. It was a very enjoyable trip, and I was glad to get away from Vietnam for a little while, for it reminds you that there is still a modern world out there somewhere, and it won't be long before I will be there. I bought 2 filters for your Topcon, plus lens hood and accessory shoe also. I'm going to send them to you this week, so you can use them on your trip to California if you want. I hope you haven't bought these things already, although they didn't cost much. I would still rather meet you in California if at all possible. I realize that you need to go to that factory, but it would make it such a long ride all the way up to the West Coast. Like that is far enough out to San Francisco by car, much less Seattle. Also, I want to go see Russell Kane in Monterey before you arrive for a few days, so I hope you can see it my way. I also am looking forward to getting home as soon as possible after getting to the West Coast and picking me up in Tacoma. But it will mean at least 3 extra days before I get home. I know you want to visit and tour California and points east of there, and so do I, but I don't want to especially add extra days onto it. I also want to start looking for a car to take east with me when I get home, and I'm sure that will take a while. If you hear of any of your friends trying to sell a car, take down some information on it, and I might be interested when I get there. Well, it's 0210, and I am on CQ, and it's taking me 3 hours to type this letter. So I'd better quit now. I hope I have covered my trip well enough to be able to tell what I did. Seeing pictures will help explain better both trips. Bye. Love, Donnie. So that was a long one, but very, very complete. Thanks for watching this episode today. This is getting close to the end of this series. Haven't decided what I'm going to do next, if anything, but at least one more episode will finish up my tour in Vietnam and the tour in Fort Dix, New Jersey as well. So thanks for listening today. Be sure and share, be sure and like, and subscribe to my channel. I appreciate it. Thanks very much. Love you all, and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.